Very big time in American history. Of course, we were at a big time in American history with California, and then, well, we had a bigger time in American history when that big time in American history got overthrown and became a bigger time in American history. But, at least for right now, Doogie Howser can get married in New York. I'm going to sleep better at night. See, I watched the Tonys this year, so that turned me gay. Yeah, I'm coming out because I watched the Tonys and it turned me gay. And now, if you want to marry me and you're gay and you're of my same gender, we could go to New York where Doogie Howser is and we could get married just like him. And for a lot of people, that is an enormous victory. Now, I don't know if anybody noticed that I posted something about such things on my Facebook last night, and I was up till like 4 in the morning cleaning up my mess. Could have just taken down the whole post and all those comments would have gone all together, but some of them were good. Some of them were great. Some of them were stinky, Susan Scott. And she dropped me as a friend. Known her my whole life. She dropped me as a friend over that. Over that! Everything else I've done is okay, but all I did was point out that the scriptures she was using in her argument were inaccurate. I didn't say she was wrong. I just pointed out that, you know, she had even written me personally and said, "What do you think of these teachings I'm getting at my church?" I'm serious. So I finally point out one that's a little strange. And her exact words, you can read it, it's hilarious. "I banned you." She banned me from what? From her page? I never go on her page. She banned herself. She excommunicated herself from my virtual church. I wrote her and said I was sorry if I made her feel bad, to please reconsider that I have to throw a very broad net in what I write on the internet to reach all different types of people, and that it was not my intention to make her feel foolish in any ways, but she did kind of jump in the middle of something when she could have just observed it. But I haven't heard back, and I don't expect to. But anyways, big day in gay history. Doogie Howser can get married in New York. All the gays are dancing in the streets. You'd think, I don't know, Osama bin Laden was dead. I don't know, you'd think. But then you go to pauseforpause.com. And by the way, that's not a dog grooming site. It's POZ for POZ. It's the definitive website for people with HIV and for people that want to prevent the spread of HIV. And the peoples at Pause for Pause are bitching up a storm. Now, I'm using bitching. You should see what they're saying. They have an event on Facebook that says, "Gay marriage approved in New York. What a fucking waste of time, energy, and resource." This is a gay website. This is a gay publication that is saying that with people living and dying with HIV, gay marriage initiative is not where our time, energy, and money should be going into. Very reasonable argument, actually. Because while Doogie is dancing in the streets, someone is lying on their deathbed without health care watching. Very fascinating. I have no idea where I stand. The beauty of this, I can stand wherever I want and bounce back and forth. I think it's a big breakthrough, what took place in New York, and I think that the money that caused that breakthrough might have been better spent. But then there's going to be someone right in the middle that says, well, you don't understand where money comes from and where money goes, So it's not like we could have just taken the petty cash out of this drawer and put it wherever we wanted. We got support for this, but we didn't get support for this. Or we've already spent this much for this, which is way more than we've spent for this. This is why politics are no fun. Ministry is fun. Ministry is where you get to be all things to all people. So I can counsel the people that want to get married in New York and be happy for them. And I can console the person on their deathbed who's never going to get the health care that they need, or they'll be dead before we find a cure for HIV. See, I can please everyone. Praise the Lord. The Bible says when it comes to things like this, we have to be right in our own mind. That's funny. Coming from me, I'm right in my own mind. Be careful of that. Because we use that term in our society, you're not right in the mind, meaning you're bonkers. Well, I am bonkers, and I'm proud of it. And I think you all are pretty bonkers yourself. And I know the people out in TV land are pretty bonkers. I've seen the stuff they post on YouTube. Do you know there's someone who posts on YouTube them using a neti pot and their cat drinking it? Drinking right out of the nostril where that water was being... I mean, people are nuts, man. People are nuts. Check it out. I'd like more hits on it. But he was so cute. His little tongue going. It was so cute. Did you see it? It's my cat, man. It's so cute. I'm so proud of it. It's Johnny, man. He's got his own Facebook. He's got his own... I mean, he's got a limo. Okay, I'm exaggerating. But he does have his own YouTube channel. Yeah. And he lays around the house. My cat lays around the house ordering me around because he gets more hits on his videos than I do on mine. And I said, I'll show you. I'll bag on Oprah and I'll get a bunch of hits. So, all right. Bible says be right in your own mind. Meaning, you're going to have to live with your choices. Be good with your conscience. Get over your bad self. When Jesus rescued and saved the woman caught in adultery, after her condemners left her, and he said to her, go and sin no more. The Pharisees gathered around him. And he didn't wait for what they had to say. He said, I am the light of the world. Anyone who follows me walks in darkness no more. And they're like, well, you're testifying to yourself. You're testifying for yourself. Your testimony isn't valid. Your witness isn't valid. And he said, well, actually, your law says, out of the mouth of two establishes a witness. I know I'm the light of the world, and my Father in heaven who sent me knows I'm the light of the world. There's your witness, baby. And he says, I know who I am. I know where I came from. I know what I'm to do. That's sufficient. But if it's not sufficient for you, him who sent me testifies that that's true. So there you have two. I read that passage today, and I said, God, how does this speak to your people today? And immediately, I was thinking about the argument of whether or not gays should get married. And tonight's sermon's not going to be at all about that. I like current events. I like documenting what's happening in history some way when I know I'm being filmed talking about a sermon, because people will remember where they were that day. So if someone watches and says, oh yeah, I remember when that was. And it reminds them of what God was saying to somebody that day. Like, I think it'd be very interesting to see what was preached the Sunday before Kennedy was assassinated. I'd love to see like clips of sermons like all over the world. I think that would be very interesting to see what God was saying to the churches that weekend. So here you have the argument about pro or against gay marriage. Then you have the argument of spending the funds fighting for gay marriage, or spending the funds researching and curing HIV, or educating people more to not get HIV. Which, by the way, if they're listening, is hopeless if nobody listens to the education. But that would be for another night. And I'm happy if you write me about that. I have my email all ready to go on that one. Now, that having been said, it seems the people in this camp have to know if they're in the right camp. And the people in this camp, or either of these camps, have to decide if they're in the right camp. And when Jesus said, I know who I am, and I know where I came from, and I know where I'm going, yes, he was speaking about that he had memory of existing for all eternity prior to becoming flesh. Yes, he's saying that. Yes, he's saying that I am very well aware that I'm in a temporary state here, but I used to live with my Father in heaven, and soon I'm going back home. But I also think that he was saying that as flesh, I am the example of someone who knows who they are. I'm the example of someone who knows who they are, knows where they came from, and knows where they're going. There was a lot of brouhaha about the film Last Temptation of Christ. I think it's one of the greatest films in history, and that could be like the most heretic thing I've ever said. But I think it's a beautiful film as an allegory of the Christian walk. As someone who finds who they are in this life and fulfills the call of God on their life. And that guy happened to be Jesus. But I'm under the impression that Jesus had to go through some type of discovery process. That at 2, 3 years old, I'm not sure he was cognizant of having been in eternity already. I'm not sure. But there seems to be a certain degree of him coming to an understanding around the age of 12 of who he is. So I don't think the movie was blasphemous to show that process, even though it showed it much later in his life. Again, it was based on a book, and it's a movie that's meant to be using the symbols of Christianity to address other issues. It wasn't meant to be the definitive Bible movie. But I thought it was fascinating to watch someone discover that they were the Christ. I thought that was fascinating. You know, I'm from an acting background, and I've years and years of spending time in improv. And when you do performance improv and you allow audiences to yell out stuff at you, people love to yell out, Jesus, you're Jesus, Then someone else likes to put you in a place like a brothel or the men's room at Grand Central Station or, nudist camp or, you know what I mean? They always like to throw something at you. And I loved when I saw someone, I can't remember what the setup was, but it was Jesus coming home from elementary school. And he walks in and he's like, Mom, I'm not like other boys, because he just healed someone on the yard. And it was so funny because it makes sense. You're smiling because it makes sense that there had to be a point in time where he was like, oh, really? I can do what? You know what I'm saying? It was, and when he says to the Pharisees, I know who I am, I think it's a challenge to all humanity. Can you say the same thing?